Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered what lies beyond them? Have you ever felt like adults just don't understand the world the way children do? What if I told you that a small, golden-haired boy once traveled across the universe, from planet to planet, searching for the meaning of love, friendship, and life itself? Today, I invite you to journey with me beyond the sky, through the stars, and into the soul of a timeless story. A story not just for children, but for every grown-up who once was a child. This is the story of The Little Prince. Once, when I was 6 years old, I saw a drawing in a book. It showed a boa constrictor swallowing a wild animal. I drew my own version, a picture of a snake that had eaten an elephant. But when I showed it to grown-ups, they all said the same thing. Why would a hat be scary? No one saw what I saw, not one adult. So I gave up drawing and became a pilot. Years passed. I flew around the world, until one day, over the Sahara Desert, my plane broke down. With no one nearby, and barely any water, I prepared to die. But then, at sunrise, I heard a soft voice. "Please, draw me a sheep." I looked up, and there he was. A little boy, no taller than my waist, with golden hair and eyes filled with light. He stood calmly in the middle of nowhere, as if this were the most normal thing in the world. He asked me again, "Draw me a sheep." As we sat under the stars, the little prince slowly began to share his story. He was from a tiny planet, an asteroid known as B612. On it he had 3 volcanoes, one extinct, and a beautiful but vain flower. She was unlike anything he had ever seen, delicate, proud, and mysterious. She demanded love, warmth, and attention. She told him she was unique. He loved her deeply, but her vanity confused him. She lied. She acted proud. She asked too much. So, the little prince grew sad, confused, and lonely. And one day, he decided to leave. The little prince left his world to explore the universe. On his journey, he visited 6 planets, each one teaching him something about the adult world. The first planet, the king. The king believed he ruled over all the stars, even though there was no one to command. Obedience is the foundation of authority, he said, but he gave only reasonable orders, things the prince would do anyway. The little prince realized that the king's power was an illusion. The second planet, the vain man. This man demanded admiration from everyone. "Clap your hands, I am the most handsome, the richest, the best." But no one else lived there but him. The little prince was puzzled by this endless hunger for praise. The third planet, the drunkard. Here the man drank constantly. When asked why, he said, "To forget." "Forget what?" asked the prince. "To forget that I drink," the man replied. The prince felt sorry for him and moved on. The fourth planet, the businessman. The businessman was obsessed with counting stars. "I own them," he said, "because I counted them first." But he never looked at them, never admired their beauty. He was too busy calculating. The fifth planet, the lamplighter. This man lit a lamp every minute because his planet spun so fast. "It's the rule," he said, exhausted. The prince admired him, for he had a job, a purpose. Even if he didn't understand why, he still did it. The sixth planet, the geographer. The geographer wrote books about places, but never explored them. "We rely on explorers," he said, but he refused to record flowers because they are ephemeral, they don't last. That word hurt the little prince deeply. His rose was ephemeral. After his long journey through the stars, from the vain men and silent kings to lonely lamplighters and cold-hearted geographers, the little prince arrived at the 7th planet, Earth. From afar, Earth looked immense, mysterious, silent. The prince, in his innocence, believed it would be empty, vast deserts and oceans perhaps, but no one to meet, no voices to hear, no hearts to understand. But as he stepped foot on Earth, he realized something strange. There were echoes, Shadows of voices, whispers in the wind. The ground beneath him carried traces of millions of footsteps, of people, animals, machines. Yet at first, he saw no one. He wandered through a desert, then across fields, then through quiet hills. Earth was grand, far larger than all the tiny planets he had known. But its size only made him feel smaller, lonelier. Then one day, while walking through a valley, he climbed a hill and looked down upon a garden, and froze. Before him stretched an entire field filled with roses. Hundreds, thousands, maybe more. They were just like her, his rose. The same color, the same delicate petals, the same gentle sway in the wind. He couldn't believe his eyes. His rose, the one he had cared for so tenderly on his tiny planet, the one he had watered and shielded from wind, the one who told him she was unique, now seemed like a lie. He walked slowly between the flowers. The garden smelled sweet. But his heart was heavy. "Who are you?" he asked the roses. "We are roses," they replied. "Like the one I left behind?" he whispered. They said nothing. He sat down on the soft grass and stared at the thousands of blossoms dancing in the breeze. A wave of sadness swept over him. His eyes began to sting, and his shoulders slumped. "I thought my rose was special. I believed she was the only one of her kind in the whole universe. But here, there are so many. She's just like all of you, ordinary." He laid down among the tall grass, his golden hair brushing against the earth, and whispered to himself, "I thought I was rich, because I had a flower no one else had. But now, all I have is a common rose, just one among many." His heart ached with confusion, disappointment, and loss. He felt small as a child left in a world too big to understand. He thought of the times he had built a glass dome to protect her, the way she had asked for water, the way she had coughed for attention, and the way she had never really said how much she loved him. Was she lying? He wondered. Did she deceive me, or was I just foolish? At that moment, the garden felt cold. The sun was bright, but joyless. He had lost something, not his flower, but his faith in her, and in himself. But little did he know, this painful moment, this sorrow among the roses, was just the beginning of a much greater understanding. Because soon, he would meet someone who would help him see the truth, not with his eyes, but with his heart. The little prince remained lying in the grass, still heartbroken, when suddenly, a gentle rustle came from the field nearby. It was soft, like a whisper, brushing through the tall blades of grass. He sat up, slowly, and then he saw him, a fox, golden brown and graceful, standing just a few steps away, with curious eyes and a still body, as if waiting for something, or someone. The prince blinked, unsure. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am a fox," the animal replied. The prince gazed at him, surprised. He had never seen a creature like this. There was a certain calm in the fox's movements, a patience, a wisdom. "Come play with me," said the little prince. "I'm feeling so sad." But the fox shook his head gently. "I cannot play with you," he said. "I am not tamed." "Tamed?" the prince repeated, confused. "What does that mean?" The fox sat down. The wind blew across the field. The world slowed down. "It means to establish ties," said the fox. "It means you become important to me, and I to you." The prince looked at him quietly. "You are just a little boy, like 100,000 other little boys, and I am a fox, like 100,000 other foxes. But if you tame me, we shall need each other. You will be unique to me in all the world, and I shall be unique to you." Those words struck something deep inside the prince's heart. "I think I understand," he whispered. He thought of the rose again, her thorns, her pride, her quiet moments of affection, her silence when he left. Had she tamed him? Had he tamed her? "Please," said the prince to the fox, "tame me." The fox paused. "I would love to," he said softly, "but it takes time." And so it began. Day by day, the boy came to the same spot at the same time. At first, they just looked at each other from a distance. Then they sat a little closer. Then they shared stories. Then they smiled together in the golden afternoons. The silence between them changed. It was no longer empty. It was full of trust, of connection, of meaning. One day, the fox said, "It's time for me to go." The prince felt his heart tighten. "I don't want to leave," he said. The fox looked at him, eyes filled with warmth and sadness. "You have to, but before you go, I will tell you my secret." The wind quieted, the earth listened. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. The prince's eyes widened. "What is essential is invisible to the eye," he repeated. "Yes," said the fox. "Your rose is not just a rose among others. She is your rose because you watered her. You sheltered her. You listened to her complaints and her pride. Because you tamed her, and she tamed you." In that moment, everything shifted. The pain the prince had felt in the Garden of Roses vanished. He understood now. His rose was unique, not because she was different on the outside, but because of the invisible threads that connected them. Time, care, love. "You become responsible, forever, for what you have tamed," the fox said. The prince nodded, tears in his eyes. He stood up. He had to return. He had a flower waiting for him, alone, perhaps afraid, perhaps regretful, but she was his. And he was hers. He looked at the fox one last time. "Goodbye, my friend," he said. "Goodbye," the fox replied. "And thank you for taming me." After leaving the fox, the little prince wandered further, his heart fuller than before, but also heavier with the weight of understanding. He had discovered something sacred, that love is not about what we see, but about what we give and what we choose to care for. Days passed. The desert sun burned. The wind whispered secrets across the dunes. And then, the boy met the pilot. The man, stranded after his plane had crashed, had been alone in the desert for 8 days, battling thirst and silence. He was repairing his engine, exhausted and hopeless, when a small, strange voice asked, "Please, draw me a sheep." It was the little prince. At first, the pilot thought he was hallucinating, but the boy was real, golden-haired, wide-eyed and curious, with the kind of stillness that made even silence feel alive. They spoke. They shared water and words. The pilot learned about the prince's planet, his rose, the baobabs, and his long journey across the stars. The boy learned about Earth, machines, grown-ups, and why adults often forget what truly matters. Over time, they grew close. Every day, the boy asked gentle, thoughtful questions that pierced the pilot's soul. And every night, under the vast blanket of stars, they watched the sky together, the boy remembering his home, and the pilot remembering what it meant to be a child. But time was running out. The pilot had run out of water. They were both growing weaker. And then, one morning, the little prince said something unexpected. If someone loves a flower that lives on a star, it is enough to make that person happy when they look at the sky. All the stars are blooming with flowers. The pilot was silent. And at night, you will look up at the stars. My star will be among them. You'll laugh, because I'll be laughing on one of those stars. And when you hear laughter from the sky, you'll know it's me. The pilot's heart cracked. He didn't want the boy to leave, but the prince had made up his mind. He had to return to his rose. "She needs me," he said. "I left her alone. I was too young to understand love then, but now I do. And so, under the stars, on a quiet night in the heart of the desert, the little prince allowed a snake, quick, silent, deadly, to bite him. His body slowly collapsed to the sand, but he didn't cry out. He was not afraid. "I must go back to my planet," he whispered, "to my flower." The next morning, when the pilot woke up, the boy's body was gone, vanished, like a whisper carried by the wind. He looked up at the sky, and for the first time in a long, long while, he smiled, because he remembered. "Whenever I look at the stars, I will hear your laughter, my little friend, and it will make all the stars laugh with you." The pilot returned to his world, but he never forgot the little prince. And every time he looked at the stars, he heard laughter. What does this story teach us? That children see with their hearts, while adults forget what matters. That love is not about possession, but about care and responsibility. That the invisible things, like love, friendship, and time, are what make life truly beautiful. And now, dear listener, the next time you feel lost in this grown-up world, look to the stars, remember the little prince, and let your heart see what your eyes cannot.